Hello friends, my name is Steve and this is Steve Talks Books. Thank you for coming by and watching my weekly update. It's where I talk about what I've been reading, what I'm going to read, what I won't get to, and everything else in between. If you'd like to connect with me, the best place is on our forum at pagechewing.com. We have blogs, we have where you can post videos, we have discussion forums, we start group reads there, we have a calendar with all our events on it, a lot of stuff. I can also be found on Vero at that one MFer, and I'm also taking part in the 365 challenge, which means I post a picture every single day. And that's been interesting because I start to see normal everyday things differently. When you have to take a picture every day, you start to find ways to fill a picture and to make it interesting. So it's been a fun journey for me. I think I'm 2 weeks into it, so I have a while to go, but it's been fun so far. And I can also be found on Twitter at Steve Talks Books. And just a reminder, I do also have a podcast. You can download the episodes directly from the Buzzsprout site or choose your podcasting platform of choice. I'm on all the major platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and a bunch of other ones that couldn't even name off if I tried. There's a ton of them. So if there is a podcasting platform that you use that's I'm not on, let me know and I'll try to make that happen so you can listen. So I appreciate all of you who listen to the podcast. I know some of you do, so I really, really appreciate it. I pay hosting every month, so it's good that somebody's listening. It helps out knowing that someone's enjoying it. So thank you for your support. So last week I did finish Abaddon's Gate, or is it Abaddon's Gate? I'm not sure how to pronounce it because I've always pronounced it Abaddon, and then on the audiobook the narrator pronounces it Abaddon. So which one is it? Let me know down below in the comments if I've been mispronouncing that this whole time. So I did finish that one. It's the third book in the Expanse series, and it was probably my least favorite Expanse book. It was still good. It's funny the way that these books they have these really silly moments and these really almost I don't know if it's because I've seen the TV show, so I know how things are going to work out, how certain major points are going to work out. But you can see things coming a mile away sometimes. But it also sprinkles in some really great ideas and questions and theories and beliefs. And it does a lot, and you don't really realize it until after sometimes. That it presents some really interesting ideas, and sometimes in a silly way. So it's weird how it works out. I'm still enjoying the series, but so far it's been my least favorite of the three. And that one is a monster. I think it's like 600 pages long. So that took up most of my week. I also did read the next 4 chapters in The Warrior Prophet. I'm reading along with our podcast because every Friday we meet to discuss a few chapters. We usually try to make it about 100 pages or so. So I read chapters 4 through 8, finished off the first part. So I am reading. I'm not getting ahead of our podcast discussions this time. I'm being good. I also chipped away at Immortelle by Catherine McCarthy. So that's another book that I've been wanting to read for a long time, and I hope to finish that today, the day that you watch this. I'm also reading V for Vendetta by Alan Moore. We're meeting next Sunday to discuss this one, so looking forward to that. And I'm only a few chapters into that one, but so far it's hitting a little closer to home than I remember it hitting last time I read it. It's been a while since I've read it. But there's some phrases and things in there that kind of caught me by surprise. I'm not sure if anyone else, I'm sure someone's discussed it, but I was a little bit surprised by some of the phrasing they use. We'll discuss this, I'm sure, in the live stream next week. But interesting stuff, very interesting. Also, this week I'm getting into another book that I've been wanting to get to for a long time. It for whatever reason just doesn't happen. There's only so much time in the day, and it's tough to keep up sometimes, but it's a book I've been looking forward to reading, which is An Alliance of Enemies, Dissension, and looking forward to that one. It's been on my TBR for a while, like I said, and it's not too thick. It's very short for a fantasy book. I think it is 250 pages, so gonna knock that one out, and then I'll also be starting The Grace of Kings by Ken Liu. That'll be for our read-along, and we are having our meetups planned for the first weekend in October. The second book we'll plan after that because Ken Liu will hopefully be joining us for that one. So we'll schedule that one once we have a better idea of when exactly the first book will happen. So last week on the channel, we did have the Empires of Dust full spoiler trilogy discussion, and that was with Katarina, with P.L. Stewart, and also with, of course, Anna Smith Spark. And it's great to hear. It made me feel better knowing that that last book took a lot out of Anna writing it, the way it took a lot out of me reading it. So I'm glad I'm not getting soft on you guys. It just that last bit of House of Sacrifice is pretty intense. So I'm glad it's not just me. So but it was a great discussion. I got to pick Anna's brain about her writing style, how she writes combat. I love the way she writes combat scenes. It's not so much a description of what everyone's doing. Like I blocked his attack and his feet or whatever. It's more of when you're in that frame of mind, what that person's mind is thinking in the middle of fighting for your life. And in these really intense situations, you just go to reflex. You don't really think every single move. You just react. It's more of just a split second life and death kind of situation. And I really, really like that. It gives you this chaotic feeling when you read her combat scenes. And there's other authors that do a great job with that too. I think Baker does a really good job for the most part, unless it's like a group battle. And also Adrian Selby reminds me of his combat too. Just really, really enjoy it. When it gets too descriptive with what people are doing, I just kind of lose interest. It's not, I can appreciate it. I can appreciate the writing. It's just not what I enjoy necessarily. So I hope that makes sense. Every Tuesday, we're also having the House of the Dragon streams. We're discussing each episode. You can join us if you'd like to. It's on the forum, on the calendar. It's RSVP for these events. And you can join us. It's open to anyone. But having a really good time and, noticing things that, I didn't notice the first time that I watched it. And of course, all of you who joined in the chat had a really great time trying to decide how to describe certain things. Those of you who saw episode, was it 3 or 4? It was a little difficult to describe some of the events in that episode. No spoilers, but we got creative, so it was a good time. Also on Wednesday, we had a negative space discussion. That's another book that I learned a ton about once we sat down and talked about it. And we could have talked a lot longer about that one. There's just so much that I didn't even think of until we had the group discussion. And I had reread the last 100 pages or so of that one just to kind of refresh my memory. And wow, that book is intense. It's another intense book. It's definitely not for everyone, but if you're into that kind of thing, check it out. But I can see why some people just wouldn't like it. It's almost like an A24 movie is the way we kind of described it. It's a movie that they try to do more sometimes, and it doesn't always work for certain people. My dogs like to bark when I start recording, so sorry about that. On Saturday, we also had the Abaddon's Gate, if you will, meetup with Robin from Bookends and Biscuits, our friend Layla, and of course Chris from Chris Mohan, the channel. Go check them out. I love these discussions with this group. We have such a great time, and we have all these different perspectives, and you start to see the story in a much different way, and that's what I really like about these discussions. So check that out. It is spoiler filled, so don't watch it unless you have read the book. It is also available on the podcast. And speaking of available on the podcast, the Friday conversation this week, we had Cassie Sanchez, who was a local author I met at a local bookstore. That was really neat. And we also had Scott Drakeford, our friend Red Fury Books, and of course Taylor from Made Between the Pages. We talked a slew of different topics. If you were writing a series and if you weren't able to finish it, if you passed away or something happened, would you want someone to finish it? Was one of my favorite questions that we taught, topics we talked about. So that was interesting to hear everyone's thoughts on that, what you would want to do. Because we were discussing Wheel of Time and Brandon Sanderson, and we got on a lot of different topics, but had a great time. And so this week coming up on our Friday conversation, we do have John Palladino, the author. We also have Christopher G. Brenning and Nick Borelli. He's a blogger. So we'll have those three this Friday. I hope you can join us this Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And also next Sunday, we'll have the V for Vendetta discussion. It's Sunday morning, so hope you can join us for that. If you've read the book, it will be spoiler filled, so just a heads up for that one. and I kept having to move that day because things kept coming up for me. So thankfully, Jose has been really understanding with that. So thank you for being understanding with with my schedule. So upcoming group reads, we do have, of course, the Dandelion Dynasty starting, so there's still time to jump on that. The book is thick, but it's only, I say only, it's only about 600 pages long, so it's not, it's not the Way of Kings, so you have time. But I believe we're still doing Age of Madness to finish out the year, so I think that's still happening. We don't have dates set for that yet. I did pick up the first volume of Berserk that I'll probably be reading first of the year. And also in October, we are reading Trails of Ashmoth by John Palladino. So if you're interested in joining us, we do have a forum thread started on the forums, and also John is on our forums, and there's a section for his series, so go check that out if you're interested in joining us. And speaking of the forums, there are some changes coming to the forums. I have been cleaning up some old content, cleaning out inactive users, things like that. So we are down below under 200 users now because I've been cleaning up users who have been inactive for a really long time. So once we get to about 200, I think we'll do a little giveaway or something special. I think we're at 170 now. So if we get to 200, we'll do something special for it as a celebration. Also, I wanted to ask, there's weeks when I try to think of guests for either our Friday conversations or for page chewing. And some weeks, I know so many authors, and some weeks I just draw a blank. Like I try to think of people and I just draw a blank. So if you have any, if you have like suggestions of people I can invite, please list them down below and let me know if you have a list. I'd love to hear your ideas and get people that you're interested in talking to. I am also tossing around the idea of creating a WordPress site for the front end. The forums will still be there, but having like a front page WordPress site so I can list all the different podcast episodes and the videos and maybe like move my blogs over. But the thing about doing that is that if anyone is interested in being a blogger for the site, let me know. Email me or contact me on social media, and we'll try to work these out, or DM me on the forums. And let me know if you're interested in it. Maybe we can have a couple people blogging, reviews or whatever you're into. Let me know if you have any ideas, and I'm open to hearing them. And also, we are booked through October. I think there's 1 or 2 slots open on some of the weeks, but I think up into November, I think I'm pretty much set. So if you're ever curious on the guests, we have some really great guests coming. But if you're ever curious, they are listed on the forum calendar. Just register and then check out the calendar and see who's coming up. So I do have some questions for all of you this week. The first one is, I mentioned how Abaddon or Abaddon's Gate, they present questions in a way that it's not too serious. It doesn't take itself too seriously, but it still introduces some really interesting, thought-provoking questions and ideas. And I wondered, how much silliness do you forgive in stories like that? Do you want it to be a certain tone, or can you handle a certain amount of silliness in stories that are trying to present serious ideas and questions and theories? What is your bar there? And also, we're getting closer to colder weather. I think, we're getting into September and, of course, getting closer to October. And one of my favorite parts of this time of year is pumpkin spice. I am a complete sucker for pumpkin spice. I will consume anything pumpkin spice related. I'm just a mark for it. I'm a sucker for it. So what is everyone's thoughts on pumpkin spice? And it seems like it's in either I love it or I hate it kind of situation. So where do you fall on pumpkin spice? Is it something that you're excited about? Because that's one of my favorite things of this time of year is all the pumpkin spice. Give me the pumpkin spice everything. I love it. I can't get enough of it. I don't know what it is about it. It's just my thing. So I really enjoy it. So also this week, we started watching The Boys season 3, and that series is cruder than I remember. It's been a while since I've watched the series and read the books. So it quickly reminds you that it goes there. So it's been okay. I'm not crazy about it, but it's been good. So Also, a few weeks back, maybe it was last month, we did watch the original Top Gun, and I was surprised how cheesy it was. We talked a little bit last week about movies holding up. Movies that are made in the 80s or even sometimes in the 90s that just don't hold up that well. I think you can wear nostalgia glasses and still appreciate it, and you can take you back to a certain time. Maybe if you absorb it at a certain time, then you can. It's different, I think, if you just watch it fresh. Well, maybe not, because I used to love Top Gun when I was a little kid. I mean, that was like the coolest movie. And now when I watch it, all the gum chewing, they must have taken out stock in chewing gum, because everyone chews gum constantly in that movie. It was really annoying. Uh, Everyone is always clenching their jaw. You can always, see them clenching their jaws. So it just really cheesy. Yeah, there's some pretty heavy '80s cheesiness in that one. But I bring it up because we did watch Top Gun Maverick. In a way, I'm glad we watched the original Top Gun first, just to kind of refresh your memory, because in Top Gun Maverick, it does have some callbacks. It doesn't lean too heavily on it, but I did like what they did. I do like what they did with Maverick, kind of the situation they put him in and the consequences of being that kind of person, of doing those kind of things. It's not someone who's going to, end up at the top of the ladder. That's not the way this works. And I appreciated that he just doesn't get to a certain point because he is he does have these skills and these talents, and he's this great pilot, but because of his, because of the choices he makes, it holds him back in a way. So that's not too heavy spoilers, I don't think. I think it's in the trailer, but the first half was okay. It was all right. And then the second half, once the action started, some great cinematography in the planes and the battle scenes, and some really clever humor parts that they sprinkled in there to kind of lighten it up a little bit. But the second half I thought was really great. I thought they were really clever with it, and there's not too much. There were some points when I wondered what was going to happen. So, they did a pretty good job. I was surprised. But the second half was pretty good. The first half was okay. The second half, once the action ramps up, I thought that was pretty good. So if you haven't seen it, I think it's worth a watch if you're a fan of those types of movies, or of the first one. I thought it was just like a fun time. And I think sometimes you need just fun movies. It doesn't have to be serious all the time. That's something I try to remind myself, because I always like to go for the serious and the heavy tones and all that stuff. So that's more of a reminder for myself, I think. But also, those of you who are into blues or jazz, maybe more blues, there is an artist that I found when we went to Vegas about a month ago. We listened to satellite radio the whole way, and there's a blues channel, and on the blues channel they just kind of shuffle different blues artists. And one of them is Koko Taylor, someone I've never heard of before, but as soon as I heard her voice, it was like, wow, this is great. So those of you who enjoy blues, check out Koko Taylor if you haven't already. Wonderful, wonderful voice. Really been enjoying her work, so go check it out. I love the blues and jazz, and so I really appreciate that type of music, and I'm a huge fan of Koko Taylor now, just from hearing one song. It sent me down the rabbit hole. So check out Koko Taylor if you're into that type of music. I think you'll really enjoy it. And if you do, let me know if you check it out. And also last week we went to the Alice in Chains concert, and it was breaking. It was the first band was called Thunder Pussy. No, I'm not making that up. They were actually pretty good. Thunder Pussy was actually pretty good. That's the name of the band. I'm not making it up. That was the first band. The second band that played. Actually, Bush went second out of the four, which kind of surprised me a little bit. Gavin Rossdale, the lead singer, there's this big amphitheater, and he actually got off the stage and went running around and went running through the crowd while he was singing, kind of like a little jog, and he was having a good time, and the crowd thought it was awesome. The security team that had to follow him didn't look too happy, but I think it was pretty cool that he did that. I guess it's something he does, from what I understand. I didn't expect it, so it was pretty neat.
Days gone by.
the third band was Breaking Benjamin. I've never been a huge fan of Breaking Benjamin, but they performed really well. They put on a really good show. And then, of course, Alice in Chains finished out the night, and they didn't come out until about 10 o'clock at night. And now that I wake up really early. I wake up like at 3 every day. So by 10 o'clock, I'm wiped out. But they came on. They sounded clean. They sounded just like just like you're listening to a CD or it's streaming. They sounded really, really good, really, really polished. They put on a good show too. So. So how are you doing? What are you reading? What are you watching? What are you listening to? I always love to hear from you and see what kind of entertainment you're absorbing. How's your life going? Anything interesting going on? Do you have any plans coming up? Anything fun for, we have Halloween Halloween, we're a month and a half away, but we have October coming up. We're halfway through September. How's everyone doing? Let me know how you're doing down below. I always love to hear from you. So until next time, I will talk to you soon.